What if you could replace your doom scrolling habit with a device barely larger than your library card? For months I've been using the XTEINK X3 as my ultimate anti-scroll kit. Is it a miraculous distraction killer or a tiny exercise in frustration? Today we're looking at why a 3.7-inch screen might be the most important one in your pocket. So, a tiny e-reader that's no bigger than a credit card. Well, in this case, my library card. Even though I love e-ink, I thought maybe it would just be a little too small and a little too compromised. But over the past months, I've really come to love it, and I think there are a lot of reasons that it is a fantastic device, and it represents a growing trend of these single-purpose or dumb devices that easily just snaps back on your phone and makes for a really nice reading experience instead of doom scrolling, which I'm sure a lot of you can appreciate the benefit of that. Maybe it's just my obsession with tiny tech, but this device really appealed to me in the sense that it seemed like something that would be a no-brainer to take around with me, whether that was in the little case, like a little mini Kindle, or attached to my phone like I was talking about. So at only 58 grams, 98 millimeters tall, 64 millimeters wide, and just under 5 millimeters thick, it is incredibly portable and light. For future versions, I'd also really like to see some water ingress protection, as this is something that a lot of people will be carrying around with their phone. I'll talk about the X4 a little later in the video and which one might be right for you. But for me, this seemed like the ideal device. I'd seen the X4, but there were some hesitations I had about compatibility with my phone size on the back, and the X3 is the one I ended up going with. So we'll talk about the X4 a little later. And we'll talk about some future XTEINK devices that should be coming out soon too, that have been leaked a little bit. The MagSafe is certainly one of the standout features. And if you have a modern iPhone, then you obviously have MagSafe. Like if you're like me, I have an Android and my case has built-in MagSafe, but there are also rings that XTEINK provides that you can attach if you want to have a non-MagSafe device compatible with the XTEINK X3. Having daily driven something like the Highbrake Pro, you might be in a similar boat where you're asking yourself, why would I choose something like this over something like this, which is technically better in every way. If I turn it on here, you'll see it has a front light as well, and it's color temperature adjustable and all that. It has a camera, it has apps, so you can play music as well on it, and it can do pretty much anything a phone would do. But this is kind of the anti-phone device, much like something like the Kodak Charmera, where it is inferior in most ways, but is just more fun and minuscule. Then I also have a digital audio player I carry around. So yes, a device like this can do all of that in one, but at the end of the day, it is e-ink, but it's also just like a second screen, and it does take up a lot of space in your pocket. Whereas something like this is tiny. If I put it in my pocket, sometimes I forget it's there. Or if I have it on the back of my phone here, it's something that when I'm waiting outside, waiting for the train, or instead of being bored and doom scrolling, I'll just whip this thing out, pick up right where I left off. You can see here it's kind of in its light sleep mode. So if I just tap that, it'll go right back to the page I was on. One thing is, the software in here, it's relatively basic because it is just meant to read books. If you're interested, I'll list the formats on the screen that it supports here natively. But there are things like Crosspoint and the fork, I think CrossInk, that you can install. I've played around with those, but generally for my needs for this device, there is normally just one book that I'm reading on here. Whereas on something like my Kindle app or my pocketbook, I kind of jump around from books a little bit. So I'll do more extended long sessions on those. And then sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm in the mood to read this. I'm in the mood to read this. This is really just, I have one book that I'm reading at a time, and then I pop in and out of it because I'm reading it for like 5, maybe 10-minute sessions at a time. Sure, you can do longer sessions on this, but that is not really what I think this device is intended for. At a 3.7-inch screen, it is 250 DPI, but my use case has really just been like pick up where I left off, read a little bit, put it back, maybe do that multiple times throughout the day. And I think that's the beauty of this device, is it's really amenable to those quick sessions where you just pop in and out of it, and it's so simple. The one thing that isn't simple, there's like a slight learning curve of enter, back, forward pages, and then the side buttons and all that. It takes a couple days to get used to that, and then once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple in general. So the stock software is pretty good in my opinion. It's been getting regular updates. Every couple weeks I check for an update, and if there is one, I just download it. But things like Crosspoint or the CrossInk, those add features like reading statistics, maybe better font management, and a few other modes as well. And my battery life has been pretty good overall. I think I average about 3 weeks. This is mostly with a lot of little light sessions during the week and then sometimes on weekends. It does pack a 650 milliamp hour battery in this, and mine came with a little 32 gigabyte card here that just slots right in on the top here. You can see I'm currently reading the Leonardo da Vinci book by Walter Isaacson. I highly recommend this book, by the way. He was a really, really brilliant and unique and fascinating person in general. So really cool to read about his life. So talking about the battery kind of gets us into the X3 versus X4 comparison. Like I was mentioning, the reason I chose the X3 was because I generally wanted to be able to use it attached to my phone, and then I sometimes throw it in my pocket like this. And like I said, it takes no space. But the one downside that I think a lot of people might be hesitant to get the X3 for is that it does not have a USB-C charger. By the way, there's also a little lanyard loop there, if you can see, that you can pop a lanyard in. It does have a pogo pin connector. It magnetically pogos on right there. And like I mentioned, I normally just leave this at home. If I'm traveling, I'll just charge it before and I won't have to worry about the battery life because I know it'll last for a good amount of time. But I totally get your hesitation of maybe not wanting to get this because you like the portability of the USB-C. And trust me, I get it. I've spent years trying to get all my devices converted to USB-C. So I know the pain and the struggle, but this is a device where I have not had that issue at all. This book I even started reading in hard copy and then I forgot it somewhere. So then I downloaded it here and that was the last book I read before this one. Also a really fascinating book that you should read if you haven't. So comparing to the X4, this does have a little bit better PPI. I think it's around 220 versus 250. It's a little sharper and that was something I do care about because this is a very small device. You're kind of reading close to it and I wanted the better DPI. Also, it's a 3.7 versus a 4.3 inch screen on the X4. And soon we'll talk a little bit about some other devices from XTEINK that are coming soon that I think you might be interested in as well. Also, the X4 is actually cheaper. I believe it's $69 versus the $79 for this. I should be putting this video out tomorrow and it's Prime Day. So I know it's on sale right now. Normally it's $79, it's listing for $63 right now. So if you're finding this review helpful, the best way to support the channel is by purchasing through those links down there. But I will say, I think the X4, if you're solely reading it in this mode, like a little mini Kindle, then I think that might be a little bit better because you'll have a little more screen real estate. One of the reasons I wanted the X3 was because I didn't know if it would cover the camera humps on my phone. Like you can see there, it's just barely overlapping. So my camera is still fully accessible when I have it on here. I don't think the difference between 3.7 and 4.3 is massive. Likewise, with that USB-C charger on the X4 comes better data transfer. But also you can pop out the micro SD, put it in your computer, load it back on here, and that's a way of doing it too. But if you want no compatibility issues on a phone, then I think this is the powerhouse for that. So if you are using the XTEINK X3 solo on the back of the phone, then I do think you certainly want to get a screen protector for it. You know, I already applied one and then I have a backup one in case this one gets really scratched up. If you have it on your phone, that is susceptible to scratches, and that is probably something good that you'll want to get. I believe this one even comes with a micro SD reader, a screen protector, cloth, and magnetic rings there. This is kind of an accessory I was more just curious about, but it is a light they sell. This works for either the X4 or the X3. I don't know how practical it is in general. It charges via USB-A. Then you'll see it's charging there. It has different color temperatures like that. I think the warm one's kind of nice. And then this little ring here will magnetically attach here. I don't know, that's kind of funny. But I've only actually used this once or twice. I was more just genuinely curious how it worked. You can detach the plate and then slot in a little clip here. I guess you could use this as an actual book clamp too. I don't know if I'd recommend this because I do want to talk about some of the future devices that XTEINK is coming out with, or at least they're rumored. I haven't been in talks with the company about it, so I'm not 100% sure, but the rumors online seem to hint at this. The XTEINK S4 seems like it will be Android, but it will have a touch screen and it will have an adjustable color front light, which I think is a cool feature. And you know, instead of using something like this, I think it's way more practical to have a front light built into these. So that looks like a pretty exciting one. Don't know how much I'd use Android apps, but there might be some that could be cool on there. And then similarly, there will be an S3, which will be probably, I would imagine, the size of the X3 here, but just have Android. And I'm guessing it'll have the touchscreen, but not sure about a front light or not. And then there's a X4 Pro or X2 Pro. I'm not sure what the rumors are leaking at, but essentially it'll have the front light and a touchscreen, but this will have the native software and won't be Android based. The rumors are saying that it could be potentially pretty thin compared to the X4, and could be under 6 millimeters. These don't have an exact time frame. My guess would be like mid to end of summer or perhaps the fall. And I'll certainly be getting one with a front light because that is something I do miss sometimes here. But I would say 95% of the time when I'm reading on this, I'm out in the daylight or I'm in a visibly lit area. And the contrast is generally very good on here, like you can see. I'm gonna try to reach out to XTEINK and see what their time frame is, etc. If you have any questions on those or anything, let me know in the comments. But if you wanna see another small e-reader, you can see that here. Or if you wanna see some more tiny tech, you can check that out here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.